Guys, welcome back to another video. Super excited to throw out this video out for you guys to watch. It's a meetup. We have a speaker. He speaks about how to improve your website. Anything from Wix, but most specifically WordPress. So anyone that is thinking about opening up a website, or maybe you haven't thought about it, very, very good video to watch. And the speaker really breaks it down to simple terminology. So guys, definitely check out the video. I hope you guys enjoy it. I know I took a lot of value from it, and I know you guys can too. So without further ado, the video.
Alright, well it was really good to hear kind of everyone's background, because I didn't know really how to take this. I could go really technical, or I can kind of keep it at a overview level. I'll try to mix it up because there's some small business owners in here, and then there's some agencies and managing people. So I'll try to kind of tier the information, not to go too deep, but at any point, if you have a question about something, okay, if you guys have a question about something, I'm happy to answer it in the middle of the talk. I feel like my goal here today is for you to walk away with some knowledge and some value, and so I'm going to try to give you some actionable steps that you can take away this and be more productive and grow. A little bit about our story. Started building websites back in 1999. Really quickly, after we built a website, they would come back a couple months later and go, you know, this website's great, but how do I get on the first page of Google? And so, you know, we started getting into all the different internet marketing related things, and SEO for a lot of people. I know someone mentioned it back there, works with a number of SEO people. SEO is kind of a black box, right? Like, so you're like, you've heard SEO, and there's tons of different definitions for it. So, you know, SEO is really all encompassing. It's about like getting visibility online is really, so it's like online PR, but it falls into so many different buckets. I think people typically boil it down into like getting on the first page on Google. And all the search engines, but really Google's the one that matters the most because they have the predominant market share. So, you know, we started a podcast to kind of explain to people, because there's not a lot of visibility in the industry of how we do things, why we do things, and to try to provide information and educate our clients, potential clients. We do a lot of consulting, that sort of thing. Recently came out with a book, and that was geared towards small business owners or anybody that's looking to build their brand online, right? So doctors, lawyers, plastic surgeons, contractors, plumbers, anybody that trades, like in the trade industry that trades on their name, is predominantly our client base. And you know, we've had success in all these different verticals, but typically B2C, direct response marketing, of like when people need something and they're searching for it, is really where I've seen SEO excel the most. You know, I don't know how many people here understand like sales funnels, and maybe I'll kind of touch on that a little bit, but just to kind of set this up for you to understand, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is personal experience, things that I've done with clients, and also some really great examples out there in the industry. And I can tell you, I mean, imagine this for yourself. Like, I know a lot of us, like, raise your hand, like how many people have to prospect for new business, just so I can get an idea. Okay, decent number, about 50%, okay? And like, does anybody like prospecting? Like, no? Is it like a good use of time? Like, or would you rather be doing like what you love to do, right? And so really what I've perfected is a way to generate business online that's inbound. So we have clients from all across the US that actually call in to do business with us, and I don't ever look for business. I definitely get referrals and stuff like that based on good work, but I'm not out there prospecting. I'm not out there networking. We were talking earlier. She's a headhunter. I did that. I did cold calling, 60, 70 calls a day for 8 years. I was done with it. Okay, and that's really a lot of my background of how I moved into this with email automation and some other things. But I think the number one thing, and I would write this down, like if you're like trying to figure out what you need to be doing online, I would say the number one thing you need to be doing is generating content, okay? Data out there suggests that 90% of people consume content. I don't know the other like 9%, but then only 1% of people actually generate their own content. And the content generators are the ones that have the lion's share of the market. So even if you're a business or you're an individual, the name of the game today in the new economy is content generation. I would tell you that that has been the one biggest differentiator for us. Does anybody know the difference between an expert and an authority? Right? Okay. Well, so here's another one. I was at this conference, actually, I just got back today. They did one. What's the difference between drive and confidence? Okay? Are you driven or are you confident? And driven's based on fear. Okay? And so it was really interesting. This lady, this consulted, she was like consulting Usher and like different people, and she did all their online marketing and that sort of thing. But the difference, going back to kind of what we were talking about, the difference between an authority and an expert, you can be an expert in a lot of things, but an authority creates influence and they can make things move in a direction. Like people will hire an expert and tell them to do something, but an authority they kind of listen to. And when you're generating business online, or when people are looking at you versus, you know, all the other people that are on the first page of Google, if you're one of those choices, how are they going to select you versus somebody else? They're going to select the person that definitively knows going to help them the most. And what your goal is to do is to be that always that other choice. It's this company and you, this company and you. Does that make sense? And so there's a lot of things that you can do. And you know, the things that I'm going to be covering really most right now is, you know, like, and trust. And I know a lot of y'all have heard about these things. Does anybody know, or does anybody think which one is most important?
Trust.
Okay, everybody's got it. Yes, trust is most important. And there's a lot of things that you can do to generate trust online. A really good statistic by Bright Local is that, and the first one of them that we're going to talk about is reviews. How many of y'all are like constantly generating reviews online? Constantly. All right. So we can have a little contest. Who thinks they have the most reviews online? How many reviews, sir?
I have several brands. One of them has around 8,000 reviews on Amazon.
Okay, you win. You win.
So number one, product in that category.
Yeah.
Customer reviews.
And so reviews are based on something called heuristics. It's something that I've kind of started to study. It's basically people take shortcuts to make decisions. Before, people used to do a lot of research. People, spend all this time and all those comparison sites that used to be out there. And now, like, what do? You look at the stars. A lot of stars. What's the star rank? Maybe look at the best rankings, worst rankings. See if it's like those reviews are even legit, right? Because you don't even trust like a lot of reviews. And then you make the decision, right? So you're making a decision because we're so overloaded with information, and technology is just, we're hit with so many different ads. We have so much going on. We're just trying to find shortcuts to make decisions. And so reviews are so important. The Bright Local study says that it was 84% last year, and now 85% of people consider an online review equal to the referral of a personal friend. Okay? So we all know, right? A referral is like the best source of like new business that has the highest likelihood to close. Yeah.
But do you know about the real trusted ones? Like, for instance, like I don't think Glassdoor or Yelp are very good anymore. I think they're they've been propagandized, you know.
So there's actually a pie chart. I think it was back from like 2015, and it broke apart where people look for reviews online. Okay, and this was actually really an epiphany for me. Is like I just thought everybody looked at Google. Okay, I was like the Google reviews in your Google My Business. I thought that's all that really mattered. And what I was seeing is like I think it was like 20% of people were going to Better Business Bureau. Right? And then I went and looked and I was like, we have 0 reviews on Better Business Bureau, you know? And then there's like Trustpilot, and there's industry specific ones like TripAdvisor or HomeAdvisor or Amazon. It really depends on your product, but the thing that you have to do is really try to get yourself outside of you and go, okay, where are people coming to my website? What are they looking at? And what we've done is we've just tried to hit like some of the bigger areas, like Facebook, like if people are on LinkedIn reviews, like, so you want to try to balance your reviews because not everybody's going to go to the same place that you're going to go. Like, and that was one of the hardest things for us to do is kind of take that step back and go, okay, how are people finding us online? And then we got to make sure that we have reviews in all those areas. There's a book out there by Robert Cialdini, I'm sure a lot of you read it, called Influence. Okay, he came out with a new book called Prefluence. And it's about pre-framing in someone's mind what they're going to see before they talk to you. And it's super, super important. So tying it back to WordPress, okay, when someone comes to your website, the first thing you really want them to see is a third-party review or testimonial from somebody else, okay, to say the things that you can't say about yourself. And so you really, really want to put that as high up on the page, maybe above the fold, if you can. Yeah?
What about audio reviews?
Yes, so that's kind of where I was going to go next, is when you talk about reviews and you talk about, like, can you trust these reviews? Because there's a bunch of, like, these spammy reviews that you can tell. And a lot of, and look at Yelp. I actually really hate Yelp because they decide if reviews are real or not, and then they hide them. And so we've generated a lot of reviews on Yelp, and they just keep hiding them. And it's like, it's kind of weird. But essentially, the best type of reviews are video reviews, okay? A video review with someone's name. It's really hard unless you're an actor and you're hiring an actor. If you're gonna go through all that work, just get a real review, okay? But video reviews are the most trustworthy when you use the person's name, or you don't have to use their last name or their company. So name, company is ideal. And then audio reviews are next. Or even visual reviews, right? Pictures, right? So if you're gonna have a review, you wanna have the picture next to it. Like a lot of sites that I see that come to us just have text. It's not even in italics, and then it's like someone's first name. And people are so untrustworthy these days. Yeah.
Is there a mechanical, or is there a website, or is there some mechanized way by which we can get audio reviews?
Yeah, there's a lot of different services out there. I can tell you.
Or like they can just pick up the phone and put, and then it goes to the.
Well, yeah, there's apps on your phone that you can record the calls. We typically we use something called Loom to record actually all our screen shares because our clients are national, and so we screen share. You can actually have a little picture of you in the corner because you really want people to see you. That builds trust. There's certain things that build trust. One's proximity, like there's all these things that I can go into, like the science of credibility, but to answer your question specifically, is there are some fancy sites that you can pay $29 for, you pay $99 for. If you just search for it, you can find it. There's a buddy of mine actually called Magnifico that he's testing it out. Basically what it is you send somebody an email, and they can basically, it'll pull up their phone, access their mic, and you record a video testimonial right there on the spot and send it back to you. You pay for just the ones that you like. So after you deliver service to somebody, you can ask them, and then it goes on their phone, pops up, you can capture it and send it back. And so I think it's like $29, but there's a couple free apps I can get to you after that I've seen people that are doing it. It's not as smooth as that, but it really is. You could send somebody a video review or talk to them, and then they have the option to reply, and you can capture that. We record all our content calls or all our calls with clients, because if we're having multiple people work on it, clients don't like to repeat themselves. And so we record all the calls, we transcribe it so people can kind of skim it, or people can listen to it and get a flavor for who they are. Trustpilot, that's a big one out there that has a little widget you can put on a website, and it will capture the reviews and puts it on the website. There's a bunch of different review sites. You got to look for your industry specifically, but there's gonna be stuff there. Yeah.
What was the name of the tool you just mentioned?
I'll give. I have a list.
Give it to me and I'll post it.
Yeah, and
I'll post it later.
Yeah, I can definitely give you all tools for anything you're looking for. I haven't seen the audio as much. Okay, I'm just telling you from a logistical standpoint. I've seen the video, which is visual and audio, capture that really easily, and then text, of course, or grabbing it from other sites, and you can aggregate it to your site, or you can manually put it on there. And then what I recommend doing is going and getting, if the person's name and they're giving you a review, go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn, go to some public platform where they put their information out, and grab that picture. That picture is going to help improve the conversion rate or trust of that testimonial. That's probably one of the biggest things. People throw those testimonials on there. And also a lot of times, and Google does like this to have a page that's like a testimonials page. I'll build that page, but also I'll sprinkle in testimonials all throughout the website, right? On like almost every page I'll have a testimonial, and I'll have it higher up on the page, not necessarily by default on every one of them, but I'll have it somewhere in the middle of the content or break it up to kind of reinforce that. Even on the Contact Us page, I really like to put a testimonial there to kind of push them over the fence if they're thinking about contacting you or something like that. So when you're building these websites on WordPress, I would encourage you, you have text testimonials, you can pull it from wherever people are leaving them, but try to get a picture with it, because you'll just improve that trust. That's the biggest thing. Is today everybody's BS meter is so good, right? And everybody's so like, is this real or not? Also with videos, I've seen that videos taken with a phone versus a professionally done video are 3 times more trustworthy. Okay, and just kind of hitting on videos again, I'm kind of going off track here a little bit, but essentially, here's another statistic I would encourage you to really let this soak in. By next year, 80% of all searches online are going to be videos. That's crazy, right? 80%. Huh?
What do you mean by that?
80% of all searches, look at Facebook, right? If you're including everything that people are searching for online, you look for how the algorithms are tripping it, whether you're on LinkedIn or you're on Facebook or whatever, what gets the most visibility? It's videos, and that's what people are looking for. That's putting more time on page. Videos, people would rather just kind of be spoon-fed the information than have to go seek it out. You see that, with Audible, and people are potentially reading less. And what you can do is you can record the video, and YouTube, if you post it on YouTube, there's other places to post it. You can transcribe the video and then just post it below it. And so you got to think about, how do people want to consume information, and give them all those different kind of options. Also on pages, even when you're looking to capture someone's information, have a big form, have a button, you can test out different things, but different people want to communicate different ways. I always, when I talk to clients, hey, how would you like me to follow up with you? Is text message, is phone call? Some people it's Facebook Instant Messenger. You got to really start thinking in terms of them, and what we try to do is, because there's definitely data that weights it one way or another, but we try to kind of hit the bigger areas. Same thing with SEO. Back in 2016, there was over 200 ranking factors. I think there's far more than that actually today. You want to try to kind of hit the big ones if you don't have a full team and you're trying to get the biggest bang for your buck. Did that answer your question? I'll get you some. Yeah.
So if we have a video on the homepage of the website, not on YouTube, but on the actual website, where would you transcribe that and put that text so that would be seen?
Depending on what the video is about. So if you're gonna, if you're, okay, so if you're talking about videos.
Is there like a way to hide the transcription?
Yeah. You can hide it and you can still let the spiders read it.
Yeah.
I would think a About Us video could be great on the homepage. It could also be great on the About Us page. The About Us page is the most looked at page besides the homepage. So the About Us page, if you're thinking about creating videos for a business, I think that you want a About Us page. You want an About Us page, and then you definitely want the explainer videos. Okay, and that could be, on Google, like the vertical search bar, like commonly asked questions, like kind of a Q&A. It could be how your product works. People want to kind of see it in action. People want to see what they're getting in an explainer video. And then, what do y'all think the other big bucket is of videos that you should have on your website?
Testimonials.
Yeah, we already talked about it. So testimonials. You definitely want testimonials. And that's really, when you look at videos of like content assets, those are the 3 content assets that you want that fall into the biggest buckets. And if you're running a business at a certain level, these are kind of your core assets, just like your website's your core digital asset. And I believe personally that SEOs should be the first line of marketing dollars should go into SEO if people are searching for you online, if the demand's there. So Google harvests demand, right? You can use all kinds of tools to see how many people are searching for different keywords, and your goal is to get that visibility to harvest those keywords. Now, if you're selling something that people don't know about or not searching for, potentially like feng shui, there might not be a lot of searches even nationally for that, you're gonna have to generate demand, okay? And that's where Facebook comes in. Facebook generates demand, Google harvests demand, okay? And your goal is to drive all those people to your website, and these are the 3 kind of video assets from what I'm seeing of where everything's moving to. And you really you can use these in a lot of different ways, from a sales funnel to on the website, to remarketing, to running them on Facebook. So if you really have those are kind of the core assets that I encourage you to get to. Okay, so we were talking about trust. What's another way that you can generate trust quickly, right? So here's my mom worked for Microsoft for 25 years. So I love this study and I talk about it in my book. So average American has an attention span of 8 seconds, and a goldfish has an attention span of 9. So that was a 2013 study. And so, what that's really just trying to express to you is you have to get to the point quickly. People want to make sure when they land on a website, they're in the right spot, okay? And so that's where kind of really having the headline, saying the name, people need to know they're in the right spot. Think about the analogy I use is if someone was pushed out of a plane with a parachute and they landed in the middle of the desert, do they know where to go? Is there road signs on where to go? And so you want to be really, really explicit. A lot of people have too many options when you come to the website, and average mind can only think about 7 things at one time, and typically 4 or 5 of those things you're actually thinking about what you ate and what you're going to do later and all that. So if you have more than 3 options, you actually overload somebody and they have paralysis and they usually just leave, okay? There's a lot of usability data out there. Typically, what I'm seeing working the best is it could be a video, or you have a hero shot with a big call to action, and you're fill out this form, get this downloadable, whatever you're asking. And typically you want to be asking for, you want to give value to get. You shouldn't be going, do you want a free consultation? Okay, I know everybody, that's the go-to, free consultation, but that's kind of if you're going on a date with somebody and you're moving really, really quickly, you know what I mean? So you want to say, hey, here's something of value. Usually have a picture of it, have some kind of ebook or something like that if it makes sense for your business. For a lot of businesses it does. the rule of thumb with a downloadable or something like that, and this is what I've heard, and it makes a lot of sense. I heard this at a conference last year. Any downloadable you have would be something you would typically charge for, or someone would be willing to pay money for, okay? And if it's not one of those things, find a better piece of bait to hook somebody to get their contact information, okay? Just asking for a free consultation, you haven't shown any value yet. Now, if you have all those videos on your site and they've read those first, or they've watched them, then they might be willing to contact you. But you gotta show, you gotta give, you gotta look for that reciprocity, but you gotta be the one to give first. So when you, so kind of going back to it though, what would be another way that you could generate trust quickly within maybe that first 8 seconds online? Anybody got an idea? Like on the homepage, what would you do?
Quick quiz or some kind of a survey, quick survey.
I think that it's a great interactive downloadable tool, but from a generating trust standpoint, that's trying to get them to engage with you, and that is the next step, but they haven't decided yet if they want to engage with you. Yeah.
So the reviews that I go for are the ones that have 5 stars, the big number. So
Sure.
I look at the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and if it's mostly 4s and 5s, I'll take a look at the product. If it isn't, I'm out.
Yeah. Beyond reviews, though, and I'll just tell you. So what I think you should do next on a website is you should have some kind of trust symbols. Okay, what's a Better Business Bureau logo, right? And I like to put it right up in the corner, right next to the logo. Okay, so you land there and you go, this brand and Better Business Bureau. Okay, like I'm in a safe place. You know what I mean? And I recognize that, and you're trying to get some kind of halo effect with that logo and that right above the fold within that first 8 seconds. Another thing you can do to build trust is you could, like, if you've been established, you've been around for 10 years, people are looking for some kind of permanence, that you're not some fly-by-night operation. If you've been in business established in whatever, right below your logo. So I've found in the data and every website we build, we try to associate some kind of trust early that's targeted to that industry. That could be, a Google partner, like, for me, it could be like a Google partner logo, right next to our brand, something that people would recognize and associate with you with, that they're starting to build that trust.
Other company logos you work with, so it'd be like Forbes or Exxon or
like a trust bar. So a trust bar. So I like, if you go to ewebresults.com, basically we say, here's what we want you to do, and then we say, look at all these great reviews, and then we put all our different badges, right, that we've earned. And if you're out there, if your industry has some kind of little online certification you can get, I would encourage you to get it. You're just trying to get things that are a differentiating factor. What people did, and I think it's been overdone a little bit, but I think a large majority of the population, it will still really resonate with. But you've seen, like, been on ABC, been on CBS. All that is, and you can do it, is by running a press release. Okay, so you run a press release, and you show up on their site. You can now say, as seen on whatever. And so I think it's been overdone, but it is totally a way to do that. So what you want to do is try to build that credibility, right? So you get somebody, third party, saying, hey, they're awesome, or whatever it is, right? Or this product's awesome. And then the second thing is just like, hey, we know what we're talking about. We're certified in all these different things. We've worked with all these different companies. We're somebody, right, that you can trust. Okay? Can anybody think about something else that you might want to put on your website that would help maybe build the trust?
proof of your work.
Absolutely. So those kind of explainer videos that we were talking about is absolutely something that you want to put on there. Yeah.
Could it also be maybe linking it to your other social medias? such as your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so I'll give you kind of my 2 cents, and this is how I view the world. Okay, so everybody's gonna have like a different way, but I'll tell you, a lot of websites, right? You go to the website and you see those social media buttons across the top, right? In my opinion, that's not where you want to put them, because what you're doing is you're directing them off your site. I mean, think about Facebook, right? And you click on something, okay? And they open up a website, right? That link, it opens up in Facebook. You don't want to take people off your site if you're trying to get them to do something on your site and you've done the work to get them there. Yeah.
Well, since I'm a real estate broker, I've got a Google map with a pin in it, and I've been doing this a long time.
Sure.
And I've got a pin in the Google map of every location in the Houston area that I've done a transaction.
Yeah.
And there's lots of them.
Yeah, like infographics.
Yeah.
So let me kind of tie that in, because I think that there's still a couple more points on social media I kind of want to hit on. So when you're looking at social media, don't you set up like 10 accounts and you like put them all on there, right? You see all those websites that they have like 10 of them on, and you click on one and they got like 9 followers. But you don't want that, right? That doesn't build trust. Only put the 1 or 2 that you're active on, that your users are active on, and don't try to be an expert in all these different things. Like Pinterest, pick Pinterest if that's what it is for products. I think Pinterest actually for sales related thing is going to be massive. I wish I could invest in Pinterest, because it's basically just everything you want to buy and like look at it. Like, it's amazing. I have a couple buddies that do affiliate stuff where they build different pages of like shoes or t-shirts or whatever, like all black shoes, and then they drive it with the affiliate link to Amazon. And I'm not saying it's like a value add thing. I'm just saying that there's a big marketplace out there of how to do these things. But pick a platform that you're comfortable with and that you want to be able to interact with customers. Like, so when someone leaves you a review on Facebook, you need to go reply. You need to go like it. It's basically someone's going, I love you, I love your stuff, and it's crickets, right? It's just really, really painful, because you're trying to do so many different things. You want to really get down to something that you're active on, because what social media has become, I believe, is a customer service tool. Okay, like when someone's unhappy, they're going to let you know about it. They can get directly in touch with you. It's giving them accessibility. It's bringing them part of the conversation. We were talking about something earlier of like user-generated content. I mean, that's the power of social media. Is it becomes a conversation versus this big brain telling you this or that. And so social media is really, really powerful, but I think a lot of people use it. People don't understand how to use it. I think it's so new. Also, when we talk about social media, we talk about channels, okay? Like channels. What's the other thing that we think of when we think about channels, right? YouTube. Well, TV, right? So, like the sports, right? The sports versus the news versus the entertainment, right? So different kind of content. What do people do? Right, there's great tools that you can syndicate. We just post it, the same thing on every platform. Well, people are on different platforms to do different things. And so sometimes you can adapt the content for different platforms, but you shouldn't just push the same kind of content on all the platforms. That's one of the things that people really, really don't like. Now, you could post that video on the Instagram stories or YouTube or Facebook, and then you could take clips of that and throw that out on LinkedIn, or something like that. But you got to think about what people are doing on those platforms. If they're looking at Instagram pictures, and so you just got to think about the platforms of how you're going to use them. And there's 200 plus different platforms out there or whatever. Pick the ones that you use the most. So I think that social media too, videos are super important. My personal social media account for a while was getting 250,000 views. Just posting videos, and I put the name of my company in there and a link back to it, and I was getting about 1 lead a week. I did actually close a deal from back in September from somebody that had kind of found us that way. So it does work, but if there's no ROI with it, and also posting on social media, right? And I'll tell you, there's a ton of agencies out there that say 3 posts a day. on Facebook, in my opinion, since March of last year when the algorithm change happened, it doesn't work anymore. And so you want to look at social media just like any other marketing channel, and where's the ROI and what are you trying to achieve? And if you can't answer that question, don't look at kind of those vanity metrics of likes and shares and all that if it's not truly driving business. I can go off on social media, but let me go back to your question. What did you ask again? Sorry. Ask me the question again.
Which one?
Talking about the map.
Oh, the maps.
Oh yeah, I use Google Maps to show where I've got transactions.
I think that
It was just a suggestion. It really wasn't a question.
yeah. So infographics were really big for a while for SEO and for outreach. That's something that still is very effective. But what you're doing is you're showing people that you work in those areas. You're also building trust with Google. So I think that's absolutely right. So if you're running, so I work with like plumbers or electricians or something like that, there's schema markup that you can put in to say, hey, I service this area, right? But Google's like, well, you say you do that, but how do I know that you do that, right? It's built into their algorithm. So did any of y'all use the social media Foursquare ever? Like where you posted like your locations? So there's now commercial services that do that. So you got an electrician that can post a pin where they deliver that service, and then Google, in that structured data, Google reads it and goes, okay, they're actually doing work here. And so there's really some pretty cool ways you can do it. I think that Google My Maps, you can build out maps and service areas, and it creates a lot of trust that people, that's just very similar to people that of businesses you worked with, right? We've worked in these different kind of areas, so I think that's really great.
Is that something that can be done internationally or just in the U.S.?
No, you can leverage that a lot of different ways. I have a construction, a remodeling company, and we got them on the first page, actually first position on Google for a number of different metrics. They were getting a lot of calls in, and they weren't relevant calls because they only wanted to do River Oaks, like Huntwood, Memorial, like the really nice areas. And they were getting calls from Sugar Land and started getting calls from New Orleans. We did too good. And so basically we had to create a bunch of forms because the more forms you create in your site, that's another thing. So like first name, last name, those two different fields, unless you're running it into a CRM that personalizes the emails, just combine those. Same thing with like the addresses. Like each box, I think it's like a 17%, I think it's 17%, it could be like 12, but whatever, it's over 10%, you're losing people on every form fill, okay? So you want as few boxes as possible. Now if you have too much stuff and you're trying to vet it, what do? You do the opposite. You add those things. You can add a little WordPress plugin called Honeypot on the back end, and then you can also block IPs outside of maybe the US if you're getting a lot of spam. So there's some different things that you can do, but what we did is we created a map and put it right there on the homepage, and was like, we only work in this area, but they were still getting people that were calling outside of that. Also, if you're working internationally, the pages or different pages, or even the whole website, like transcribing it in the right language and having the domain of that area, because people in Europe don't type .com, okay? They type, .eu or whatever, or whatever it is. And people in Australia, AU, and all those different things. That's one of the things that we saw when we started doing a lot of international SEO. Is like, we're the only ones that go for .com. We're like, what is that with the measurements, right? Like no one right? So
the metrics.
They would be they would think we type .us. That's because that's what the rest of the world does, but US is kind of different. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like my talk has not gone down the path I was going to go down, but hopefully I'm adding value to what you're asking. I mean, we can, yeah.
So it sounds like a dumb question, but with Google rankings, if you're very specific, like you're saying home remodeling in River Oaks, you're going to have a high ranking from people looking for that, right? I mean, but if you're trying to go for a broader audience, you've got that kind of business, how do you get a higher ranking? I mean,
Sure. So let's see if this answers the question. Now I'm going to shift gears for a little bit. So all you want to know about SEO, I'm going to go kind of technical here. So if not, tell me and I'll lose you. But basically, how I do SEO and how we rank is we'll rank like a theme or a service or a product or whatever, and then typically based on it, it will be a location. Okay, and the location's the modifier. Or near me, people don't optimize for that. You can get a lot of good optimization going after the keyword terms like near me or the location. And typically how Google works is it starts locally and then it'll expand nationally. And so once you start ranking for that location, you can start creating like different location pages. So like when we rank for Houston, then we'll start building Sugar Land, Katy, on and on. And then we'll link all those pages together and then point them to the Houston page. That's called like siloing. And you can continue to link that up, right? So you link all those to the city, then you link all the city pages together and point to like a Texas page. And you'll be surprised in most of these location searches if people are typing in Houston, okay? You know what a lot of people type in after that? They type in the TX, right? And so once you really dominate for certain keywords based on volume, you start going after the long tail key phrases. And so that TX builds the foundation to build the Texas, and then you start getting a weight on your website for this, and then that's when you can add the Dallas, the San Antonio, whatever, right? Nationally, when you start getting nationally, what happens is it just doesn't matter, right? You just rank for that keyword term. So like internet marketing, I know a lot of you know Neil Patel out there. I was doing really some strong SEO with like Internet Marketing Houston, and for a short period of time, I was right below and above Neil Patel. We're like Google, it's called the Google Dance. I was getting to this there. But what happened is our page was a services page, okay, about internet marketing as an agency. People that search internet marketing are searching for internet marketing. They're not like, so the purpose of our page was different than the intent of what people were searching for. So Google kind of put it there, got the data that people were backing out quickly of the page, and that's not what the page was meant to be about, even though we had the domain authority to rank for it. And then Google dropped us to the bottom of the first page, and now we're on the second page for it. But I'm okay with that because typically people that type internet marketing are searching for internet marketing. They're not searching for an agency yet. It's at a different place in the funnel. So everything that Google does, everything that the algorithm does is all based on intent. And so you gotta really figure out when they're typing that in, what's the intent of what they're trying to achieve, and are you answering that intent? And we can talk about content marketing a little bit. I know you had a question. So has anybody ever seen this? The AIDA model? Okay. Interest, decision, action, interest, what? Attention, sorry, attention, I'm like dyslexic. Attention, interest, decision, action, okay? And when you look at like a sales funnel online and you're generating content, we start generating content, and most people generate content at the bottom of the funnel, right? Because it's the closest spot to a conversion. As you mature in your business, as you mature in your content marketing strategy, you start working your way up the funnel, okay? And so really, and I go through this in my book, this is how you establish authority. So when people are at the top of the funnel searching for something that they just realize they might have a problem, and they're like trying to find like whether it be symptoms. And so here's the thing, 90% of all searches online are informational searches. People are trying to figure something out. It's like the online encyclopedia, online, yellow page, white pages. But basically, if people find you here, okay, and they read other stuff, but you show up here and they've seen your article, and then they move a little bit further down the funnel. If we're talking about products, it could be like There's really some good examples online about big screen TVs. It gets more and more specific, right? Then it's like brands, sizes, plasma versus LCD, like how people, it's called the customer journey of how people find it online. But basically, if you have content that addresses each one of these areas, it actually kind of trips the algorithm with Google, and Google goes, these guys are in every kind of spot, and they're going to give your give your website more authority or more weight. And really, I think that's some of the name of the game is creating content, and every time they look and they come with you, they're going to start trusting you more because they're more familiar with you. Something that you're more familiar with, you give greater weight to. And so by the time they get down here, if you've touched them other times before they were actually ready to buy, like I was a headhunter for a long time, and the interesting thing is there's really good candidates, and if they knew the hiring manager before they got unemployed, they were looked at differently. But when you become unemployed for whatever reason, if you don't have a job, like people don't look at you the same way. Some of you may experience that, I don't know, but I can tell you that if they're familiar with you before you need something, they're going to give it greater weight because you're trying to decide, you know, is this person a friend or foe? Is this person really trying to help me or not? But if you're giving them value all the way through, it's just like with tips that, and it's all human interaction. All the internet is human interaction. But it's like a waiter. It's like if a waiter says your name, if a waiter touches you, if a waiter like on your shoulder, if they write thank you on the back of it, there's a greater likelihood that they're going to get a higher tip because they feel like that there's some kind of connection and reciprocity kicks in. And that's that same strategy in this kind of new economy is you want to put out that content. Going back to what I said, that 1% of people generate content, and that's how you're going to build that know, like, and trust. But did that kind of answer your question? I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. Does someone else have a question? Did you have a question? No? Okay. Do you have a question?
Well, I was just saying you were going to talk a little bit about automation. You had some good tips on automation and content creation.
Yeah, I can definitely talk about that. Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask about, is Wikipedia really valuable in the Google searching or not? I mean, to have a Wikipedia, does that help?
So this is my opinion of Wikipedia. Again, like what I'm talking from is personal experience. Okay, so everybody's gone through a different kind of experience and has a different lens that they look through. So I just kind of want to preface that. My experience with Wikipedia is they did a really good job organizing information online, and Google, their kind of thing beyond don't be evil, they took that away. But basically, so now I guess they're evil. But basically, their job is to categorize information online, and Wikipedia tends to rank really high up for like definitional terms, and so it has a lot of domain authority, and Google really likes that. So anytime I'm building out a content strategy, I tend to look at how Wikipedia organized that information to figure out how I'm going to build that content on my site or create that sitemap of that content. So I really, really like how Wikipedia does things, and Google likes it too, so I kind of like to go with what is already working. As far as driving traffic to you, there's a lot of people that go to Wikipedia, but I haven't seen a lot of referral traffic, at least for the type of clients that I work with. But if someone's searching for some kind of symptom or something that they might need more information on, and you can get that link back to yourself, and that link back to yourself where you used to be able to go on Wikipedia and create all this kind of content that they've made it a lot more difficult. That link back to your website, because Wikipedia is very, very strong in their domain authority, that link matters, okay? That link will really kind of help you in the rankings, because what links are, if we're talking about SEO, is basically, we're going back to online PR, it's a vote. It's a vote for you. That's how you want to think about it, is like, if we're all in this room and you say, hey, who's really good at WordPress, and everybody points to somebody, that person in everyone else's eyes has more authority. And that's really how Google really revolutionized search back in the day, and the primary factor that they built their search engine off of was off of links and anchor text. They come out with some updates from that, and they're starting to move, and what they're trying to do is based on user experience, like the best possible user experience, and it's starting to weight a lot more towards content. Okay, like again, it all kind of comes back to content creation, and having, whether it be video content or image or infographics. People love infographics, or text. Yep.
I have a question. Does this rank at all or help with rankings if you have a lot of return customers? Does that show some kind of domain authority if people come to your website and then come back and then build that relationship? Does that affect your SEO ranking with Google at all?
Yes. Okay, so I'll hit that, and then we'll try to move into email automation unless there's more questions. I'm happy. So just so y'all know, so I can pass some of these out. If you go to bestseopodcast.com, it'll take you to our website, and we syndicate our podcast everywhere. And we have over 450 episodes. We've been doing it for about 10 years. And we're going into all this kind of stuff, even in more detail. We're looking at different articles. So there's all kinds of topics that you can kind of pick and glean from it what you want. So if this is helpful, I don't know if it is, but if this is helpful, a lot more of that is online there. But what you just asked about is we're kind of running all across places like Google Analytics data. Setting up your Google Analytics data is really, really important on a website. Anything you're doing online, if they haven't set up goals, if they haven't set up analytics, how are you supposed to track it? How are you supposed to get better, right? You're just not knowing what's going on. Google looks at things that are like time on page, which we were talking about earlier, time on page, number of sessions, if people are clicking the back button, when people get to your website. So what we do when we're doing some SEO, there's some things we can do to throw up you pretty high in the Google rankings. And then what Google does is goes, hey, I want to give this more data. So my rule of thumb is like 100 views or something like that to try to get some data to figure out, okay, how do people interact with the content? So going back to the kind of internet marketing example, when Google threw that up on the first page right next to Neil Patel, people weren't interacting with it positively because that's not what they were looking for. They were clicking back and they were leaving. So to your point directly, 94% of people will come to a website, leave, and never come back. 94%. That's where like remarketing, retargeting comes in, like where Amazon used to chase you around the internet. That's pretty easy to set up with pixels. But yes, the return visitor, Google's looking at the different touch points that were created till someone takes an action on your website, and it can track that, and it can track to see what they're doing, to see if when people come to it, are they engaged, and how they're interacting with that website. So there's all these different kind of metrics. But if people come first time, don't buy, leave, Google doesn't like that, right? And so it all kind of plays into, are you providing the right kind of information to what people are seeking when they go to your website, and then are they taking action? Now, asking somebody, kind of what I said before, going for a free consultation, you're asking for a lot up front, but getting someone's email address and giving them something of value is a much lower threshold to get them to take action. So phone calls, form submissions, downloadables, that you're trying to get people to interact or engage with your website, and everything you do should be tiered for that. Yeah.
I was looking at your podcast. It's Best SEO Podcast for Beginners and Marketers. There's like 3 best podcasts.
It's a picture of me and Chris Burst as a co-host. It's like little caricatures. If you're on like iTunes or something like that. But if you go to bestseopodcast.com, we'll take you to our website, and then there'll be some more information about the podcast, and then whatever, if you're listening to Spotify or anything else, you can go click on that, and if anybody wants that, I can pass that out later. But So, okay, okay, email automation. Okay, let's talk about email automation. So, email automation is how I actually got started. Okay, prior to this, I was a headhunter. I had a headhunting agency. Everything's done so archaic. Okay, it's like 50, 60 phone calls a day, just calling people, hey, you want to buy a chicken? You want to buy a chicken? You want to buy a chicken? And like, it was like black hat, if you know what that is, or whatever, or gray. Basically, it was bidding on people that in Google were looking for Geico claims on accidents. And so in AdWords, we were bidding against what people looking for accidents, and it was kind of this bait and switch call. It actually worked really well in the beginning, and then Google goes, hey, the value score in AdWords, or the relevancy score, went way down to 1, costs went way up. Google said, we're gonna rarely show this. So it worked for like a month, and I was just like, okay. And basically we switched to a SEO strategy that's working well for them. But what I was trying to express there was that was a strategy that was recommended that we execute, and I think we executed strategy impeccable. It was just a bad strategy. Now it falls in the bucket of like SEO, but it was like how we did it, did we execute it right, and also what were the results of that. And that was a recommendation. I was like, I don't have any data on this, I don't think it works, I don't really want to do it, but if this is what y'all guys want to do, cool, we can try it, we'll do it. And I was kind of interested to see what would happen. That was kind of the results of it, which now I have in my brain. I was like, Google's really smart, and they figured out how to go, this is not relevant. But that was a strategy that that's a strategy that's, hey, you come to me for PPC, and hey, here's a strategy. If I recommend that strategy and it didn't work, would you say that PPC is ineffective because of that? Or was the strategy in the tool that was used ineffective in the way it was being used, because also we executed that strategy properly? So I know that might not be the best example, but it really pops in my head to really say, hey, PPC is not PPC is not PPC. SEO is not SEO is not SEO. It's really about, these are different tools, and what's the strategy that you come up with to execute it, right? And also, if you're going after SEO, these keywords are these keywords that are actually convertible keywords, right? And we found that a number of times too. We like to kind of run AdWords, see where the conversions are coming from, and then move that money into SEO if we don't have it. Google used to show you everything that came to your website, and then they were like, nah, you got to pay for that data. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, I don't think it's like an art. I think it's more like a science. It's more like data driven. Like if you have that data, you can make those decisions, and you can look at things in a microcosm, or even in a macrocosm or microcosm, figure that out and see if those things will apply. So it's really about how you use these tools, I guess, to answer that. Did that confuse everybody? I'm sorry. Yeah.
What is B2B? You mentioned it a few times.
Sorry, business to business,
okay.
Business to business, or business to consumer.
Got it.
B2C is a lot easier. B2B is a lot more complicated, and they're longer sales cycles. Typically, they're higher dollar values, and that's where email automation and some of the automated tools really come in effectively. And I believe really that email automation is underutilized today. And I've talked to some really big businesses here in town, and no one's doing email automation very well. It really surprises me. There's only a few players nationally that are doing it at an excellent level. Yeah?
What tools do you like for email automation?
So for email automation, I am HubSpot certified, even though I'm not a fan of it. Okay, I don't believe that you need to spend $300 or more per month just to get access to a tool.
You're what certified?
HubSpot. So kind of mid-sized businesses. HubSpot actually built the term. I don't know if you knew this or not. So they built the term inbound marketing. They created that term and built everything around. They're really good at marketing, and they'll convince you need it. And I am certified in it because a lot of the medium-sized businesses definitely use it. But when I look in how they're using it, they have this Lamborghini that they're driving around, and they're going 20 miles an hour with it, and there's not even any drips built out. I think for the majority of people in here, a Constant Contact, a Aweber, a MailChimp. MailChimp has added the automation functions very, very affordable. I think that they just switched their model. Before it was like free up to $2,000. I think they might have some kind of monthly fee associated with it. I personally use something called Active Campaign. Active Campaign's $99 for 50 seats, and it does almost everything that Infusionsoft utilizes. Y'all have heard there, the kind of cream of the crop is Infusionsoft. I hired a guy, an email guy from Infusionsoft, and you know, unless you're selling like info products online, or you're like a really big company, you don't need any of these tools. You could do just fine with MailChimp, and really all this stuff too. I know it's super overwhelming. Email's overwhelming. What I think I want to like express to you, so you don't feel like overwhelmed, is figure out one thing that you're really good at, like I was talking with like social media, and get really good at that and build content deep, okay? And like I showed whatever it was, were the videos. Here's the 3 kind of videos you need, you know what I mean? Those are your core assets. You could do other videos, but everything is tertiary once you build that like core kind of strategy. So with your emails, literally start with a 5 email drip, like 1 5 email drip, and generic to every person. Build like a core asset, and then over time you want to build on it, but you want to start with something and not get kind of like whatever paralysis of just all these different things that you have to do. Sure.
Is your team building citations, and if so, who are you guys going with? If you guys build them in-house, what's the strategy?
Yeah, so I've used a lot of different people for building citations, and anything that's computer generated, like those computer generated citations, if you want to go back and check and see if Google's indexing them. So what we were finding out is the computer generated citations, that were kicking it out to whoever. I'm not going to throw anybody on the bus, but basically, if not 70% of those citations, like search for them in Google and see if they're coming up, because if they're not getting indexed, it's really not a benefit to you, right? Because you don't have Google linking that back to you because it's not in kind of their sphere. What he's talking about is something called NAP listings, name, address, and phone number. Basically, yellow pages or white pages, whatever, went online and then they like went everywhere. And there's just like a ton of them. Directories don't provide very much juice anymore. These listings too, what we're seeing, we are manually building them. To answer your question, we're manually building them, and also we're actually changing up the descriptions in each one of them a little bit. Huh?
Are you using spawn content?
No. You could spin the content that the client gives you, but like we're basically maybe adding. You could double spin it and run it through a plagiarism checker if you wanted to. But just the basic concept of what I'll tell you is, if the content's a little bit different on every citation, just the name, address, phone number, and website are exactly the same, it's getting indexed a lot more in Google. Also, depending on what citations you're going after, social, okay, like building out social profiles, social citations, really, really powerful too. And you're getting all those kind of links back to yourself, and we're seeing a lot of power in that. And so there's, what are some other things we're doing related to citations?
Anything related to GMB, that's one of the reasons why I came here.
Okay, Google My Business, yeah. Okay, so what I'll tell you too, the thing about citations and why you want to create those, and this is something that not a lot of people know, so here's some real value related to Google My Business. Did anybody know, like be honest, did anybody know that when you go to Google and search for something, that's actually a combination of multiple different search engines combined under a big umbrella? Okay? Do you know that? Yeah? Like so.
That's the only reason I know that.
Yeah, if not a lot of people know that. So Google instituted something called Google or Universal Search, and that's where the videos, the pictures, all the different, aggregated basically sites came under one roof, and local. So if you're trying to rank in Google My Business, that is actually a different search engine that's similar in how the algorithm is written, but you can rank in maps really, really quickly. And what people don't know, in my opinion, with Google My Business is, when you go put in the little, your business is about these different things. I'm at a loss for what that word is, but basically you're saying, hey, it's categories. The categories, like the categories of text. So when you're putting in the categories, all those categories, those words need to be on your homepage. You need in your on your homepage. Also, Google wants to see what you're about. Google really likes brands. So going back to like map citations, Google wants to see your information. Like, think about it like real estate online. You want to have as much real estate online as possible that is congruent. So the more congruency Google sees, the more trust that it builds. Hold on 1 second, I want to finish this. So basically, you want to put in on your homepage, you know how you have in your footer your location? Put your main headquarters if you're multi-location, but put that location up in the text. Google wants to see it twice. It's building affirmative kind of like, yes, this is right? And also you want to talk about who your customers are on your homepage. You want to talk about the verticals or things that you offer. Some of this stuff is a little bit of a blend with the About Us page, but Google wants to see this on the homepage. The biggest thing that I've seen to get things to rank quickly is to have the citations or the categories and tags that you list in there on your homepage. And then also there's those mini blogs that you can create in the Google My Business. You want to do that because you're getting and put those links back to your site in your anchor text, and you're getting links from Google, right? So have you heard of something called Google Stacks? Yeah. So they work. And that's kind of that concept associated with that. If you're going to
Are you also ordering out Google Stacks, or are you building them in-house?
So I've actually seen these complex systems built, like PBNs of like Google Stacks, where you're pulling stuff from like the Amazon server and all kinds of crazy stuff. It just depends what you're wanting to do, but you can build them. You can build them pretty quick. It depends on what your strategy is and like what tier. If you're gonna build it, like we're typically not doing that, but we're like powering up socials and then driving stuff through socials on like Web 2.0's like Weebly or whatever, like, and we're building content there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we're driving that content to the Google My Business, and links to your Google My Business page can give you a really nice jolt in the rankings. All these things that you can do to kind of put some pressure on Google to get you up in the rankings. If your content's not there and you're not having that time on page, if you're not having the number of sessions, if you're not doing those things, it'll drop like a rock. So it really has to be a full strategy. Yeah? Cool. Okay.
So I've got like 500 posts on my blog.
Okay.
I've been doing it a while.
Sure. Okay.
So is that too many? Goes back to the conversation you just had.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think you need to create any more. I think you're probably not, if you're not first position for like everything, with 500 blogs, it means that the power of those blogs is not situated in a way that is really helping you out. So there's something that, if you look up the term siloing, it's basically how you build out your site and where you're pointing those kind of votes or links internally on your website to these different pages. And in the kind of hyperlinks, it's called anchor text, and you want to point those pages in your blogs to maybe your service pages or maybe your home page. You want to go in on the back end and use the Yoast plugin that we were talking about to get them all green for the right categories. And then you want to do categories and tags on the back end. I've seen on blogs, if you just build out the categories and tags on the back end, and you're basically going, Google, if they're talking about this, like this is the category, it helps Google out quite a bit. And so I've seen that be really effective. You want 5 to 7 hyperlinks on your site, and you want maybe 3 or 4 of them to go internally on pages, and you want 2 or 3 of them to go off the high domain authority sites. So Google's also looking at where you're linking out to. Are you sharing useful information, or are you just like being stingy and like keeping all that to yourself? Yeah.
So what I've done, so I've had my business for 20 years, so I got just like you. bunch of blog posts, right? Crazy amount.
You still got them?
No, this is what I was going to
You're
tell you. I
reposting.
started deleting a bunch.
Okay, right.
Because at the time it was like 1 or 2 sentences, right? Or I'd have like a if then that thing, and I'd have an image on some random image. Like, what the hell was I thinking? And Chris Lema was like, oh yeah, or not Chris Lema. Who am I thinking of? Seth Godin.
Okay. Yeah.
So Seth would have a paragraph. He was like, I'm going to post every day, right? Well, that's just no longer the point. So for me, I'm going back, deleting things that just make no sense, that offer no value whatsoever. Some of the ones I'm going through, I'm like, this was good stuff.
So you're reposting?
I'm reposting.
All right, okay.
I'm actually pulling it out further. I'm like stretching it out, putting more information.
Right.
I'm honestly seeing great traffic from that.
Okay.
I just saw an old post, all of a sudden 85 blog posts, ideas. Start shooting for that bum on page 2 for that sucker.
Yeah, so the thing that I would do too before you delete posts is look at the domain authority of that page.
Yeah.
Because if it's been around for a long time and it has good domain authority, I wouldn't delete it. But yeah, refreshing the content, re-adding the content.
Right.
Typical blogs, the threshold used to be 500. If you want to be on first page on Google, the data is really close to 2,000. Okay, so you want at least 750 words in your blog, or roughly, or over 1,000 is kind of a good rule of thumb. Also on the images, okay? On the images, name your image. Don't have your image be like, if you upload it from
image _72533.
Yes, exactly. You don't want that. That doesn't help Google, right? And so you want to. The rule of thumb that I do is the first post or the first picture, I always name it the keyword I'm trying to rank for. I always put that in that. Also, you can put, like if you're doing local, you're talking about the different maps, you could do GPS coordinates,
Have you read Life After Google?
I
There's
have watched
a book called Life After Google.
I have not read that. I've read, there's a documentary called The Creepy Line. It's on Netflix. It's really good about how Google works and basically the Chrome browser. One second. So the Chrome browser will, basically they came out with the Chrome browser when Facebook came out. And it's all about like what your behavior is online, and we kind of addressed this before. That's what the Google Chrome bar is for, is to track what you're doing once you leave the search engine on the page, and it's collecting data on you. There's something called geofencing or geotargeting we were starting to do a lot of. I looked back to see, Google has data back on me since 2012 of where I was at a specific time. And they keep all this data, and you can mark it to people if they're doing an open house or at a conference or
It's not necessarily good.
Yeah, no, it's really crazy what can be done.
I think they got sued.
I think I want to know, or anybody else.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to collect.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Facebook with the Axiom data, with the political side of things really happen. I also read How Google was Built, which is really, really good. And it talks about how the company was built, but also they interwove how the algorithm was written. But I read about a book a week, and so
Actually, basically, he says
have to check it out.
he says that Google's always going to be around, but it's going to be overtaken by blockchain.
By what?
Blockchain.
What's blockchain?
Blockchain.
Oh, blockchain. Yeah. The internet, my opinion is the internet's still very young. It's a teenager. Okay, like it hasn't been around very long, and it's constantly changing and evolving. I think that VR or even augmented reality is going to be really big. We're looking at podcasting in 360 right now, and
podcasting in 360.
yeah, so the cameras are in 360. Also, I got the Oculus last year, which is Facebook bought it and removed it into the gaming space. It's basically about attention. So everything online, now the currency is people's attention. So how long can you hold it, and what can you do with it? And what I'm seeing with Oculus is you can go into a room and play chess or a board game or whatever with somebody in virtual reality. Also for co-working people, they're starting to have these apps where you basically, and there's data that say that people are feeling more connected. Like you kind of move yourself into the co-working space area so people can talk to you, or you're in the library, or you're taking a break and you like move your little person of where that is. But there's starting to be a real blend. I think blockchain, I'm starting to see a lot of stuff with blockchain on the commerce side of it, where they write the scripts on shipping. So like China's like, hey, like we want to get paid, and we're not going to let this stuff in the port. And then basically, if it's delivered, it triggers these contracts. I was also at the Small Business Expo, and they were doing a lot with blockchain. That statement, though, that blockchain is going to overtake it, I think everything's going to evolve and everything's going to become kind of one. You know what I mean? Like self-driving cars. I mean, look at Tesla. Tesla is taking all the data of every driver in the car, aggregating that data, and making the car drive better, like every minute. You know what I mean? And so I think it could go a lot of different directions, and blockchain is very, very interesting. Yeah.
Wrap up.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you said you usually put what you want to rate for in the description. So what do you stick in the alt text?
Ask me the question a little more specific. I think.
We were talking about pictures.
Use the words that you want people searching for.
Okay. What's the difference between the description box and the alt text box?
Just write the same thing, okay? Like, and then, so just write the same thing in the alt description. You don't have to necessarily do the description. You just need the alt text and like what the image is named for. But you want congruency in that, so I would just keep them the same. But you actually don't need to fill all those boxes in. Yeah.
I'd just like to expand upon the alt text, what you said. For Section 508, it's also important or accessibility, it's also important for people to be able to easily understand alt text too. So make it to what you want people to search for, but also make it to, if you were listening to it, it would be sensible. It would make sense to you too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I agree with everything that she's saying. So to wrap up, just real quick. So if anybody wants a book, I have 2 books left. What this is about is, I know some of the stuff we talked about is really overwhelming. Internet marketing is just, there's so much, like SEO in itself, there's so much. We didn't even touch the surface of it. What I did in this book is I kind of told a little bit about my story, but I outlined how to create that credibility and trust online, what you're looking to do. It's basically like behavior science. And then I go into all the different tools, whether it be AdWords, landing pages, SEO, PR, all the different kind of categories of or tools that internet marketing has. I give examples of things that we've done, clients, national examples of what that is and how to do that. So this is a really good foundational book. I do have it on Amazon. And
is it on Audible?
It's on Audible.
Okay.
It is on Audible. Because a lot of people don't like to read or don't have time to read. So if you're working out or driving or whatever. But yeah, so this is a good foundational book. If you're looking to take your business online or grow it online, I don't use all these kind of technical jargon in here and try to confuse you. I really try to put it in kind of lay words. So that's what this book's meant for. And it's really for people that trade on their name, but there's application. When I say trade on your name, plumber, electrician, anybody that's doing some kind of direct response marketing online that's building a business. But this book's a good resource for foundational. If some of the stuff where we got a little too technical, or you wanted more technical stuff, that's what we do on the podcast. So that's really the focus of that, and it's broken into different topics, and we curate different articles and bring on some guests. We have the guest Search Engine Journal just on there, and Dwayne Forrester, some different people to get their kind of insights on trends and stuff like that. And that's kind of what that's meant for. And then, I do run an agency, about 25 people. We definitely have an army of contractors beyond that, because, when people come to you, we were talking about building a website. We were building 7 websites last month, and I don't have a team to build 7 websites. And if I tell people, hey, I'll start building it in like 90 days or 120 days, people don't want that. So I have some really good contractors. I'm looking for contractors, okay? I'm hiring about 2 people every month. So if you're interested, we're just moving to a new location. and love to talk to you more because we really need more people. So thanks.
Putting in a co-working space. Awesome, wow. Okay, just so you guys know, I did record this. Ha! Oh, let me stop the recording. Stop the recording and stop this because this is going to be a really long video. Okay, there we go. All right, just one more thing. WordCamp is still on track. So we've got a couple folks that are on the committee. Who's on the committee? Stand up for me. Just you. That's all? That's it? All right, yay! And we're still looking at spring of 2020. We're getting close to we're going to probably visit a couple of venues next week. So if you guys are interested in volunteering, we're going to start kicking that out probably in the fall. We're going to look for an army of volunteers at this point because we're going to need a lot of help. Yeah.
What is WordCamp?
What is WordCamp? Good question. WordCamp is essentially a big old meetup all week long. And we got different tracks. You'll have developers track. So if you're really techie developers, you might have another track for business. So if you use WordPress for your business, we might have a track for that. Don't hold me to all this stuff. We're still talking and conversations. So just give you a heads up on that. And again, I do have a YouTube channel I set up. I will put the recording on there. I'll throw it up on the meetup. We have a Facebook group. If you haven't joined that yet, we're pretty good on the Facebook group about sharing information and tips and all that good stuff. So I encourage you to go to Facebook. We have a page and a group. So just Google Facebook search, they're horrible, Houston WordPress, and we'll show up there. So thank everybody for coming. This has been fantastic. I appreciate it.